welcome back to my channel. I'm Tommy Daniels, and today I've got a bit of a different setup. I just wanted to give this do this video to, I guess, first and foremost, to remind myself of the goodness of God, and so that I can kind of look back at it and say, okay, if God has done that in the past, then it will surely come through for me now. And hopefully, as I remind myself, you'll also be encouraged to know that God is good and He always comes through. So this testimony was about 5 years ago. I just finished my master's. I was looking for a job, and I needed a job that could also, or that was going to also sponsor my visa. So basically how it works in the UK is that if, as an international student, one of the ways that you could I guess stay back in the country, and I knew that was my desire. One of the ways that you could stay back in the country was to get a job that sponsors your visa. So basically it means you need to find a company that you can work for, and that has the company has to have the right to be able to sponsor a visa. Anyway, I was applying, like a few of my classmates had gotten job offers, nothing was coming through, like when going for like some interviews, but it wasn't quite clicking. And I was getting to a point, and I had like 2 months left on my visa, and I was like, okay, what's going on? Pray, holding on to God. Then I also like started toying with the idea of doing a PhD. Bear in mind that there's nothing wrong with doing a PhD, but I just I wanted to I just didn't have the desire to do a PhD, but I was just like, okay, maybe I may have to do that. And then I started trying to get myself excited about the idea. But I remember like going for a meeting in church. It was like a singles program, and then I just went into it, and then I realized, and then I went into for the PhD program, in church, and they were talking about like Abraham and Sarah and Agai, and how she basically how Sarah, when God had promised Abraham and Sarah a child, and Sarah basically offered him to go into the mistress because it seemed like God was taking too long, and it was kind of a way of them helping God. And I just it really resonated with me, because I was like, this PhD options I'm looking at, it's because for me, I knew that it was kind of like I was trying to help God. It's like, God, you're not coming through fast enough. Now, I'm not saying that if you're in the same situation that you can't go and do a PhD, maybe that may even be what God may be telling you that that's what you need to do. So for different people, it's like different paths. For me, like I knew that was the one I wanted to do, and that when we spoke about that, about like the Abraham story really resonated with me, and I kind of knew that was God saying, kind of be still, don't help me, like just watch me walk. And then I left that. Then a few weeks later, like I was applying for jobs. I'd been applying for jobs. And then I realized I got I applied for, at this point, like I applied so much that I don't even read the job spec or description. I just like apply, like anything possible, just apply. Particularly the ones that you only need to send your CV and you don't need to do a cover letter. I just like basically throw my CV around everywhere. And yeah, so I got this interview for a job, and I was like, actually that day I had 2 interviews. So I was on my way to the interview, and I was looking at the job description, and I was like, looking at it, I was like, this is so out of my comfort zone. It's not what I want to do. It was like finance, accounting, and I was like, I like everything in business but this. But at that point I was like, I don't have a choice, I have to go. And I was just like, it was really like it was really out of my comfort zone, in short. And then I got in, and then at the interview, and it was all looking good, and then they called me back for a second interview, but I wasn't excited. I was like, oh, like it doesn't, like the company wasn't as big as what I want, like I guess one where I'd previously worked, but also not as big that I would have liked. But then I remember my sister just looking at me and thinking, like, am I okay? Like, this is looking very positive. Sorry, I'm looking around a few people, and this is looking very positive. And then you're just here saying that, oh, you're not sure you want to do this because it doesn't, like, the company doesn't look as fancy. Anyway, I got the job, started like within a week. They sponsored my visa, and that was it. And it was just like it happened so quickly. Now, about 2.5 years later, like into the job, like okay, like initially, like I said, it was kind of like out of my comfort zone, but I was learning a lot. About 2.5 years into the job, my boss was laid off, or and then I basically had to step up and become the finance director. And I didn't become a finance director immediately. Basically, my boss was fired. There was like downsizing, so I was basically the only one, like, doing what I had to do. And then eventually, like, I think maybe 6 months into that, then I officially, like, got made the finance director. Like, my pay was increased by, like, I don't know, like 40% thereabouts, like within that time. So when people were like basically saying that there was a casting down and people were being laid off, I was having my pay increased. But all of this from a case of it's a job, somewhere that was completely out of my comfort zone, and an area that was, that I had no interest in within business. Like, obviously I wanted to do like strategy, like my degree was in management business and stuff. So it was kind of like my area, but that particular area of business was the one I was least interested in, or had least desire or least knowledge about. But yeah, this is just to encourage me that, if God came through for me when I felt like, time was ticking and I had to like be seeking other options, He can do it for you too. And then, like I said, it's just to remind myself that, look, God is not late, He's always on time. And if He's done it before, and there are other testimonies about as well, but if He's done it before for me, certainly He can do it again. Yeah, I hope this blesses you, this short video. I'll be back next week with another video, and a very exciting one actually, and it's gonna be with a special guest. But that's all I'm saying for now. It's gonna be a really good one. All right then, thank you so much for watching. Have a great week, and goodbye.